Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is the NFL wrap-up show for Week 13, more commonly known as Thanksgiving weekend. We hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving with family, friends. There was obviously a lot of football. We're going to talk about that. It began on Thursday, but before we do, let me introduce our hosts. Joey Clinkscales, former general manager, personnel director. He's been a scout at the highest level and a former NFL player as well. Joey, welcome to the show, along with Brian LeBel. Brian, our NFL and college analyst. Gentlemen, start your engines. There's a lot to talk about here this week. First of all, Thanksgiving. We hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Is there any one thing that you didn't get for Thanksgiving that has to be on the plate that wasn't available for you? Joey, I'm going to start with you. I have a friend that said he went to a house. They're not born in America, and they didn't have any turkey. He goes, I miss turkey for the first time in years. Anything in the outstanding that you would want to mention? Or I know you probably had a cigar and some cognac as a post-dessert treat, but tell us about your Thanksgiving first, Joey.
Well, it was great. I was with a lot of family and went to Knoxville. I was with a lot of family and friends. It was probably close to 30 of us. And we had, you name it, we had it. We had everything. And obviously one of my favorites, it was store-bought this year because my mom used to cook it really great. It's sweet potato pie. Not to be confused with pumpkin pie.
That's right.
I don't do pumpkin pie, but sweet potato pie is on another whole level. But yeah, we had turkey.
Do you heat it and do you put a little ice cream on it too, like I did, or do you have it a different way?
Oh, I just have it plain. No ice cream, no
whipped cream or anything.
No whipped cream. I just have it plain. But it was good. But Thanksgiving was wonderful, especially
like when I was a kid. I had a McDonald's hamburger, plain with nothing on it. Plain meant you put everything on it. No, it doesn't. It means I don't want any of the little onions, and I don't want any mustard or anything. But sweet potato. Oh my gosh, I'm hungry just think. I haven't had that in years. Brian, you're a key lime pie guy. We didn't have key lime pie this year, did we?
No, but the green bean casserole is my go-to. We got to have the green bean casserole. That's my Thanksgiving tradition. That's the dish that if we have that, everything else is kind of secondary, but that's my go-to.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a right way to do it and a wrong way. If you don't have green bean casserole, or Joey, if you don't have any sweet potato pie, and it's a different color. It's a little bit more brown or orange. It's not as dark.
That's correct. It's a little bit more rich. Yes, that's right.
It's fantastic. A little bit of cinnamon sometimes. I don't remember exactly.
Cinnamon and vanilla and nutmeg. Yeah. Absolutely.
Man. Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, we'll finish the show later. Let's talk about food first. Anyways, we've got some great games, including the one that is wrapping up. We're a little early tonight. Patriots and Giants. There are about 9 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. It's 30-15 in that one. Guys, Patriots are really showing why they are 10-2 and why the Giants are 2-10. Giants have been just starved for the talent with injuries and everything else that's going on. The camaraderie's been off. The coaching's been off. A lot of problems there. But they're fighting. They're a competitive team. They don't quit. They play hard. Even though the Patriots are rolling right now, Giants doing their best, it doesn't look like it's going to get any closer than this. Brian, let's start with you. This game, obviously, in Foxborough. Are the Patriots for real enough to where we very early are going to be going, not only they're the top seed and may get a bye, but they would be a Super Bowl favorite right now. Would you assume that that's correct?
Yeah, I think so. This was kind of a litmus test game too, because you lose Will Campbell. They're down half their guys on the offensive line. So New York is not necessarily the team that you want to go up against because that's kind of the strength and their bread and butter is the defensive front. But they handled it well tonight. Drake May's been very efficient. They've been able to run the ball. Receivers have been good. Special teams play has been huge for them. Giants are 2-10 team. They got a lot of fight in them, but it's just, a lot of injuries. Like you said, a lot of stuff going on internally that they got to figure out. But I think if the Patriots, they find a way to win this game, any win's big, right? Especially late in the season when teams are scratching and clawing. But I think if they're 11-2, you have to put them in that Super Bowl conversation because they're beating up on everybody. It's just they're a good football team, top to bottom, and they're a lot of fun to watch right now.
Joey, we'll talk about them last. The only team as close as the 10-2 Broncos right now. They obviously have a bye coming up, but the Patriots do. But my goodness, very impressed with the Patriots. Their consistency, they're playing and taking on the character of their coach, who's a tough dude and has played at the highest level. He's got all kinds of rings. The guys are getting the example that they need, not only from just shaking hands with the man with all the diamonds on his fingers, but the way that he played is in many respects a Dan Campbellish type thing. We're going to be tougher because we are tougher in the first place, and we're going to play tougher than the next guys. Let them make a mistake. We'll take advantage and capitalize on that.
Absolutely. The Patriots tonight have really been the most physical team on the field. The Giants haven't looked very physical at times. They're really undisciplined, which is problematic for a football team, especially later in the year. Now, I know they have injuries, and they certainly have internal issues. I mean, Abdul Carter did not play the whole first quarter. He sat, coach's decision. And if you read some things on the internet, which I'm not going to repeat because my brother found it on the internet, it's a little disturbing, which why he may have had to sit out the first quarter, according to the head coach who spoke about it at halftime. But they just have some discipline problem. Now they're young enough, they're fighting, they're doing some things from that standpoint. But just from a talent perspective, they're undermanned to the Patriots.
Yeah, my message received loud and clear from a first quarter, we'll call it a suspension, is disciplinary issue, broke team rules or did something. If you're reading things on the internet that are a little more complicated than that, but that's the initial reaction, right? There's usually a coach's decision, an internal organizational decision to say, you missed curfew, you were late to a meeting, or something else that we're not going to suspend you for the game. We actually need you on this team, but we're not going to do anything more than that from a disciplinary standpoint. Financially, it'll be minimal, but there will be a fine involved too.
Well, unfortunately for Abdul, it was this is the second week in a row. Last week, he was suspended. He did not start the game, so he sat the first series. So this week, it's the first quarter. So apparently, he's a high rep guy because he's a slow learner. And so now we're 2 weeks in a row, and they're having a problem out of him. So
yeah. I hate to hear that. I just do, because there's some of these young kids that don't realize how lucky and fortunate they are to be in the league in the first place. But they're good, they're talented. Just focus, guys. Just focus. Do what you need to do, and you're gonna have a long career. But be that as it may, all right, the Giants, we'll talk about them a little bit later, and the Patriots. Obviously, that game is finishing up right now. Let's go back to Thursday. No matter what your tradition is, if it deals with any sort of football at all, your TV is going to be on at noon, and you're going to get to watch the Detroit Lions. This year, they're going to go against the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay ends up winning at 31-24. A lot of interesting things happen in this. To me, this is one of the games that did have playoff implications for obvious reasons. Packers, when they win that, they're 8-3-1. They leapfrog past Detroit, who falls to 7-5, and to keep pace with the Bears, who we'll talk about in just a few minutes. This was an important game for the Packers, especially on the road and the division and on Thanksgiving with short rest. Jordan Love played better. Joey, we'll start with you. What impressed you most about this game for Green Bay?
Well, I'll start with Jordan Love. I think he played a lot better. The numbers didn't completely bear it out, but he threw 4 touchdown passes. I mean, and he made some really clutch throws, and that's the mark of a great quarterback. It's not when you can dink and dunk the ball, but he was able to throw the ball downfield in traffic under pressure, and he made some really nice throws. And again, he threw for 4 touchdowns in this game, and they were able to rush the ball a little bit with Jacobs played this week. Now Detroit had some injuries that affected the game. I think when Amon St. Brown went out, I think that affected some of the things that Detroit could do offensively. But we're going to give Green Bay a lot of credit. They won a game they needed to win. Michael Parsons, I believe, had 2.5 sacks. So I think they're trending in the right direction with what they can do. And to score 31 points on Detroit is a really big feat.
Yeah, especially in their building. Brian, Joey mentioned some things about Jordan Love. We've been critical of him about, kind of playing down to the competition and all that and really getting wins with less than 200 yards. He kind of showed out today. But Joey also mentioned something about the injuries. Talk a little bit about both, or anything else that was impressive to you.
It's obviously Jordan Love's the big thing, but this is the second game the Packers have had against the Lions, and they've figured out the rushing attack, a thing that really nobody else has been able to slow down. The two-headed monster with Gibbs and Montgomery. I think Gibbs had 20 carries for 68 yards, which if you can handle him in that capacity, it's a good day at the office. And Micah Parsons, the numbers this year don't jump out at you, but he's been a presence up front. He's been very, very disruptive in the passing attack. not a lot of vertical shots for the Lions because they got to get the ball out quickly. And if you're Detroit, it's a bad loss. Now you're 7-5. You have the Bears and the Packers now both in front of you, and it's going to be a tough road to hoe for them because it's just not a lot of losses, I think, down the stretch for either of those teams in the division. You get swept by the Packers now, so they own the tiebreaker outright. Obviously, that's a factor. But kudos to this Green Bay team. I think we were kind of waiting for them to figure out the passing attack, not just Love, but Christian Watson was getting involved and Wicks was getting involved, and everybody was the ball was getting sprinkled around. They ran the ball well. Jacobs is back. He looked healthy again. So, much like we mentioned with New England, this is a team very sneakily. They're 8-3. They're right there in that NFC, contending Super Bowl conversation, especially with Philadelphia and some of these other teams kind of being, up and down. Big win for Green Bay. They get a couple extra days off to get ready for next week and make that final playoff push.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned about Green Bay, they're 3-1, absolutely, is from earlier in the year. They impressed you defensively. It seems like they're coming together at the right time, even though they did give up 24 points. It wasn't 25 and it wasn't 32. They end up winning the ball game because of that. The rushing in this game was a little interesting for me. Packers rushed for 125 yards, Lions for 119, so a 6-yard difference. They're just about the same. 234 versus 256. The Lions threw for a little bit more, but very evenly matched. The biggest difference, obviously, in this game was the 4 touchdowns. Joey, you mentioned that a little bit earlier, versus 2 for Jared Goff, and obviously a road win for Green Bay, and they are now 4-1-1 on the road. So they're dynamite on the road. Next game we're going to look at is a team that's really struggled on the road. Kansas City, they are 1-5. They go to Dallas, close game, but they end up losing at 31-28. And interesting game. I thought all three of us, we mentioned that this was a must win for both teams. Kansas City up on the losing end. Joey, I'll start with you. Playoff ramifications, I think they're minimized by Kansas City. 6-6, you win your next 4 or 5, or at least you still have a chance, but you really made it difficult from your divisional standpoint. You're pretty much eliminated from that. And then the Cowboys at 6-5-1, maybe not keeping pace with the Eagles, but at least from a wild card perspective, they're still in the hunt.
Yeah, well, I'll start with Kansas City. I think Kansas City is a team right now at 6-6 where they absolutely probably have no more room for error. Okay, so they probably need to win out through the next 4 or 5 games they have. Offensively, they didn't play bad. I mean, Mahomes threw for 4 touchdown passes.
Yep.
But Trey Smith, their offensive guard, who may be their best lineman, he did not play this game. He was out. And during the game, they lost both tackles. They lost the rookie left tackle with a arm injury, and then they lost the right tackle. So again, offensive line plays a key role. They didn't run the ball as effectively as they did the week before when they rushed for over, I don't know, close to 200 yards the week before. And then on a short week, they really weren't committed to the run as they should have been. And I think it caught up with them. The Cowboys, on the other hand, I mean, they Pickens was Pickens. I mean, he's still a great receiver. Lamb showed up. They were able to get effective runs. I mean, they had a young guy, I think Williams is his name, who break off a long run for a touchdown. They had some timely plays, and defensively, they made some timely stops. So I think this was a big win for the Cowboys. If you look at where they are in the standings, they appear to be hanging on by a thread to get in the playoffs. But you never know. They could go on a run here, and they could find a way to get in, because guess what? A lot of the teams that we expect to win aren't winning, and the Cowboys right now they have a lot of fire in their belly, and they're playing really good.
Yeah, Brian, real quick, Kansas City, we'll talk about them. 3 of their last 4 have been on the road, and guess what? They've lost 3 of their last 4, all of them on the road. Here's what they have coming up: Texans and Chargers at home. Titans should be a game that they win. They'll be on the road there. They get the Broncos at home, and then they're at the Raiders. But do me a favor, and if you don't mind starting, Dak Prescott's so impressive offensively, so smooth. It's not an easy win, but gosh, he throws for over 300 yards, and his stats are quietly league leading. And even though the defense has struggled all year, he's done a great job, in my opinion, of really deflecting all of the distractions and just playing the best that he possibly can at any one time. That to me has been very impressive for him from this year's standpoint.
I think everybody on offense is kind of healthy and in rhythm now, right? Like Pickens had to get acclimated to the first month or so, and then it was kind of trial by fire because CeeDee Lamb gets hurt, and he was asked to fill in some pretty big shoes, and he did a great job of it. And then CD comes back, and then he's able to kind of, like Joey mentioned it last week, it's kind of 1A, 1B with the receiving core, right? It's just they kind of play off each other. Each one does, something maybe a little better than the other, but it's working really, really well. They got Ferguson at tight end, who's fantastic. The run game has been consistent. Cowboys offense has been good all year. Dak has been good for years. He's kind of, I don't want to say underrated, but because he's in Dallas, he gets a lot of the spotlight, but he's handled it very, very well. The numbers are always good. The defense was the big question mark, and that was the struggle early on. And they've made some moves. Jerry's tweaked it a little bit. They've done a good job schematically, and it's come around, and they made stops. Now, Patrick still played very, very well on Thursday, but like you said, they made plays when they need to make plays, and they made stops. They need to make stops, and they beat a very good Kansas City team who their back was against the wall as well. And that's not something that happens very often, especially with Mahomes and Reed. But credit to the Cowboys. They beat both Super Bowl competing teams in a matter of, I think it was 5 days. So tip your cap to them. They turn their season around. They're right back in the playoff conversation. And if they sneak in, they're a team that people more than likely, hey, we'd like to not play against these guys.
Yeah. Dak, I mentioned 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was not sacked. Cowboys rushed for 137 yards, and Jadeveon Clowney had 2 sacks for him. Yeah. So that's an interesting perspective from the Cowboys defensively. They're 6-5-1. Kansas City falls to 6-6. Next game, Joey, I'm going to start with you. Joe Burrow, what a difference he makes right there. 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. They rushed for 128 yards and really beat a Ravens team that had to get another win. They're going to need that for the rest of the season. They started out so bad. Ravens end up at 6-6, 32-14 is the final there. Let's welcome back Joe Burrow. Any thoughts about him and how well the Bengals played offensively?
Well, I'm just telling you, he looked like he never left. He threw for 261. Now he threw the ball 45 times, which you wouldn't want to do that when you're walking in the door after you've been out.
24 for 46, yes.
Almost 2 months, but guess what? He played pretty well, and the offensive line did a decent job. And defensively, look what the Bengals defense showed up. Now, the Ravens helped the defense, but guess what? If Cincinnati can continue to play like this, with the way the Ravens are playing, with the way the Steelers are playing, they might backdoor this thing and get into the play and win this division, because I don't think you're going to get 2 teams out of this conference to make the playoffs out of this division. So if the Bengals can find a way to win out, which anything's possible, and the Ravens and the Steelers, I think they still have 2 games against each other coming down the stretch. The Bengals could find a way to get in this thing.
I'll give you real quick before we go to Brian. Ravens' schedule is Steelers, Bengals, Patriots, Packers, Steelers. So, yes, they do play each other starting this week. Very interesting to see. This is almost like the NFC South, Brian, where nobody really wants to win it, unless Tampa says, oh, all right, well, we'll take it. I mean, but Carolina, we'll get to them. Carolina's kind of changing that a little bit. But give me your thoughts here about the Bengals and then obviously the Ravens.
Well, credit to the offensive line, because this run game has really come along as well, because we dogged on him early in the year. Joe Burrow was taking a lot of hits. That led to the injury. They really couldn't move the football at all. They make the Joe Flacco trade. They're just kind of scrambling to figure it out. And Chase Brown has kind of been a constant on this team. They've been able to run the ball pretty well. Takes a lot of pressure off the offensive line. It opens up play action, which, oh, by the way, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, their numbers are exploding. They love that. So, they're able to play off of one another. We knew the offense was good, but like Joey said, the defense showed up. It was nice to see that. And if you can kind of have both of those things working in harmony, this is a very, very good team. We knew that coming in. There's a good chance the winner of this division might be under 500 at this point, the way things are going, the way the Ravens look and the way the Steelers look, and then the way the Bengals are right now. You don't even have to mention the Browns, but it might be interesting to have to see a team in the AFC West win 10 or 11 games, have to go play on the road, a wild card weekend.
Well, very interesting how the Bengals, with the return of their star, has other stars and subsidiary players all shine, and nice win there for Cincinnati. They are 4-6. Ravens fall to 6-6, but they don't lose any ground. We'll talk about what the Steelers did in just a moment. Guys, Black Friday means Bears and Eagles. It doesn't mean outlet shopping or going to the mall. It means looking for a parking space, letting your spouse go in to go buy some things while you stay in the car, keep the engine warm, and watch the game. 3 o'clock kick, 24-15 is the final. Bears are 9-3. That's all I can say. Bears are 9-3, and they end up beating the Eagles. They fall to 8-4. Brian, I'll start with you on this one. I know Philadelphia is capable of booing their team, even though they won a Super Bowl off the field at halftime. They're tough on their team. They really are. But Bears rushed for 281 yards. McConaughey had 130. Swift had 125, 1 touchdown each. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You couldn't stop him on the ground, and he didn't have to. Caleb didn't have to throw the ball. Why would you? 281 yards? Goodness gracious. On the road, your impressions and thoughts here about the Bears and the Eagles.
Yeah, on a short week, that's kind of the game plan, right? Let's run the ball, dominate the line of scrimmage, but you wouldn't think you're going to do that going up against the guys in Philadelphia, the road graders they have up front. The talent in their front seven might be unmatched across the rest of the league, and they made it look easy on Friday. I mean, Eagles looked like they were tapping out midway through the third quarter. It's kind of the inverse of what the Eagles have been doing to teams for years, right? It was kind of a taste of their own medicine, and they didn't like it very much. But Caleb didn't do a whole heck of a lot. He didn't have to. They made plays when they needed to. There was a play in the third quarter, or I think it was late in the third quarter where they run kind of a bootleg, a play action where they have Olamide Zaccheaus run kind of a double move, and he kind of hesitated and he makes the corner almost fall down. He's able to get wide open. Caleb missed him, but I think that play kind of depicted what the Bears were doing offensively because everything was working, right? Everything was there. It was almost like they were doing just whatever they wanted to offensively. And this is something we're not used to with the Chicago Bears. This is kind of new territory that we're treading. And I know Philadelphia's offense has been a head-scratching, conundrum for most of the people, the rest of, for the majority of the season because they're tremendously underperforming based on the talent they have. But the Bears had them figured out defensively too. And give a lot of credit to Ben Johnson, give a lot of credit to Chicago. These guys look like they're serious contenders at this point. It was a couple of weeks ago, maybe we're kind of writing them off. The Packers are the Lions. They're going to pass them. It's their division, whatever. But these guys are 9-3, and they're in sole possession of first place in the NFC right now.
Joey, what impressed me most is 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns by the Bears to really close this one out. They're not playing to win by a point or two at the very end or rely on their kicker. They're dominating up front, as we've already mentioned. And defensively, they made it very difficult for the Eagles.
They won the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Chicago did, and you wouldn't have thought that coming into the game. And there was something in the water in Pennsylvania this weekend because the Steelers got run up and down on, the Eagles got run up and down on. So basically it was almost record performances by their opponents.
Did Penn State lose also? What else is going on there? West Virginia, did they have any problems too?
I don't know. I mean, from Eastern PA to Western PA, if you had a running back, he was going to have a big day.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, Ben Johnson has to get a lot of credit for the turnaround and the mentality of this football team. I mean, what he's done, how he's developed Caleb, and not that Caleb is where he's going to be, but he's taken a lot of the negative plays away that he had last year, and now he's playing solid football. He's doing enough to win the game. He's scrambling at the right time. He's not giving up a lot of yards via the sack. He's throwing the ball away when he needs to. But when he needs to stand in the pocket and throw a strike, he's able to do that too. The Eagles, on the other hand, offensively, I hate to beat a dead horse, but A.J. Brown has 132 yards receiving and they lose. Every time he has a big week this year, from a receiving standpoint, they lose. When he's complaining about not getting the ball, they're winning. So you do the math. There's a disconnect there somewhere, and it just continues to get larger, I believe. So I'm really concerned about what the Eagles offensively are capable of doing. Not what they're willing to do, but what they're capable of doing, which I'm not sure they're capable of a lot because that they're offense is so basic. But
Yeah.
defensively is where it became really problematic for them this week. Again, giving up that many yards on the ground was really a tough pill to swallow if you were an Eagles fan. And they were born on Thanksgiving.
Well, the biggest discrepancy of the game, you mentioned the numbers and the separation, the gap between the 281 yards and the 194-yard difference between the Eagles only having 87 yards on the ground with Saquon Barkley and that big offensive line. There's some other issues just right in front of our eyes. The Eagles just can't move people up front. You mentioned that both sides of the ball was dominated by Chicago. And any other comment before we go to the next game? I'll tell
you this: if Chicago was in the NFC East, they'd be undefeated. The Bears have beaten every team in the NFC East.
Yeah. They're NFC East champs, aren't they? Right now they are. Jerry Glanville, if he were the coach, he'd have a big old trophy ready for him to be the NFC East champs. All right, let's look at some of the Sunday games. There were quite a few. Before we go any further, there were no buys this week. For obvious reasons, the NFL will not let you take a week off there during Thanksgiving. You're playing. You play during the holidays because there's more eyes watching the game. So there'll be buys next week and the next two before every team will have their bye week taken care of. But Falcons on the road against a 2-9 Jets team. Jets get a late walk-off kick. Brian, your thoughts here about a 27-24 win. It was tied at 7 at the half. The Falcons led by 3 at the end of the third quarter. And the Jets come back, and as the game was tied there with hardly any time left, they kick a field goal to win it. And, if I'm Atlanta, I'm going, we got to win these games on the road against teams that we should beat, or else we're not going to be a playoff team. Guess what? You're not going to be a playoff team with a 4-8 record.
I'll say this: the Jets receiving core. They added Mechie, they added AD Mitchell. Garrett Wilson's not healthy right now, but with Tyrod Taylor, the offense is moving a little bit. Falcons defense is really nothing to scoff at. I know they're not playing for a lot right now. I mean, they were fighting for their playoff lives in this one, but give Tyrod Taylor, give Aaron Glenn, give the Jets some credit. They had a very, very rough start to the season. They've kind of righted the ship and figured it out a little bit, and they're still competing. They're still fighting, and, kudos to them. Flip side things, the Falcons, it just seems to get worse and worse. No Penix, no Cousins, no Penix and no Drake London, and, you could kind of see the passing production. Bijan Robinson's still very, very good. You showed you that on Sunday, but other than that, there was not a lot to write home about if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan.
Yeah, Joey, difference in this game, obviously. Jets weren't afraid to win, and the Falcons seemed like they were.
Yeah, the Falcons, they played like they were afraid, to lose the game. Is what they played like. That they were afraid to lose the game, and when you play nervous football, it's hard to win because that's when you make mistakes. Cousins was efficient. I wouldn't call him great. He was efficient. Bijan was Bijan. I mean, he's clearly one of the best 2, 3, 4 backs in the NFL, and maybe the best all-around back in the NFL, with the exception of McCaffrey. I think they're right there together. But the Falcons defensively was a concern this week. They knew they were going in versus Tyrod, and he's more of a passer than Fields was. But Tyrod was able to spread the ball around. He was able to make a couple plays with his legs, and they did just enough to win. Now they're beginning to take the form and the personality of their head coach, because believe it or not, despite their record, they've played pretty tough all season long. They've had 1 or 2 games where they were just out of it, but there's some fight in this young team, and especially since they traded away 2 or 3 of their best players.
Yeah,
it's almost like they've been re-energized. So they're fighting. So kudos to the Jets for coming out and battling and winning this football game.
Yeah, there's a time when you get rid of a couple of your stars or your big cap guys, and you look around the room, and it falls on you. Hey, I better play. I don't want to lose my job or be out of the league because I didn't make something happen. And sometimes that could be the little bit of a spark that a team needs, and just enough. I know when they circled the schedule this calendar weekend, we can win this game, and they did. So congratulations, the Jets are 3-9, Falcons fall to 4-8. Next game we're going to talk about, we thought this might be a trap game where maybe San Francisco goes in, that Browns defense. Now Myles Garrett did have a sack, good for him. Joey, we'll talk a little bit about Browns defense, but the 49ers, 26-8 is the final. It wasn't a dominating performance, but it sure was hard if you're a Brown or a Browns fan to feel good about your team. They were just stifled. It's almost as if the 49ers had their hands on their neck for most of the game. Goes, look, just play. Don't do anything funny, and we'll keep it as close as we can.
Well, I'll go to the obvious things here. Shador played well enough to, despite the score, he did not play a bad football game. He was pretty efficient with the ball. He did some good things, scrambled around, threw a touchdown pass. They just are void of offensive talent. I mean, they lost one of their best offensive linemen in the game. They really don't have any speed on the outside. And Jerry Jeudy is really a number 2 at best at this point in his career. They have 2 tight ends, and Njoku, and I can't think of the other guy's name, and they're really number 2 tight ends. They're really just void of talent. Now, the running back played pretty good. He runs really hard, and he's got some juice to him. But offensively, they really don't have a lot, and a lot of times the pressure is on the defense to play so well that you take all the deficiencies from the offense out of the way. And this week they weren't able to do it because San Francisco really did some good things. Purdy played pretty efficiently. McCaffrey did McCaffrey things, and they got the tight end involved. They got Kittles involved, and they did some things. Now we at some point we can talk about the receiver who got in trouble again for the 49ers and caused the big ruckus there. But that's a whole nother issue. But the 49ers, hey, they just keep hanging around. Guess what? Despite all the injuries, despite losing, they're on their 3rd middle linebacker. Guess what? They're still 9-4. They're in the thick of this thing.
Yeah. The numbers aren't very impressive, Brian. Purdy threw for 168 yards. He had 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He was sacked 1. They only rushed for 91 yards, but the only score number that matters is the final score, and they get 26 points. Defense played really well. Shador had 149 yards, as Joey mentioned. They rushed for 138, but it's not enough. It was probably too little too late there for the Cleveland.
Yeah, I think a game like this kind of shows the talent discrepancy too, because I would say, especially on the defensive side, the Niners aren't stacked, right? They have a ton of injuries. They got a ton of guys out, and they kind of got manhandled for the majority of that game. Shador didn't play poorly, but like Joey said, there's not a lot of talent on this roster. And if there is, it's a lot of young guys. Judkins is a rookie. Harold Fannon's a rookie. You got a lot of young talent. Your quarterback's a rookie, right? They're throwing a bunch of rookies. It's trial by fire, and you got to give them credit because they're not playing terribly, but it's just they are devoid of talent at the receiver position. They got a lot of building they need to do. They're a lot like the Giants we talked about earlier. They got a lot of stuff they need to figure out, but I don't think they're terrible. Maybe 2 years from now they could be competitive, but I mean, it's this is what we're going to expect from the Niners. Credit to from the Browns, but I'm going to give a lot of credit to the Niners, man. They're 9-4. Everything they've been through to this point, give them a ton of credit. Their starting quarterbacks missed half the season. For most teams, that's a death sentence. And Kyle Shanahan and that team, they just, for whatever reason, they find ways to figure it out and they keep winning football games.
Yeah, they're relevant. They stay relevant. And at 9-4, goodness gracious, it's a great place to be. Even though you're not in first place, you're right there knocking on the door. Next game we're going to look at in Tennessee, right there where you are, Joey. Jaguars kind of handle their own business. They go against the worst team in the league. 25-3 is the final. Trevor Lawrence had a pretty good game. Not the best you're ever going to see, but really, if you ask me, the Titans just struggled the whole way. They only rushed for 67 yards, even though Jacksonville didn't rush for anything more than 70. It was basically Jacksonville's game to lose. They decided not to do that. They're 8-4, pretty good place to be. So they're up again, down again. Jaguars, they've decided to be up again in a game that they needed to win and absolutely did. They're on the road.
Yeah, give them a ton of credit. Coaching-wise, the Jaguars have been fantastic as far as turning things around. Liam Cohen's done a really good job. I'd like some more consistency from Trevor Lawrence, but this is a bad team in Tennessee. Credit to Cam Ward. He's doing everything he can. They're a lot like the Browns, where they don't have a lot of talent right now. They don't, and they're putting a lot on his shoulders. He's taking his lumps. I think he's improving each and every week. It's not maybe showing up in the stat sheet or the scoreboard, but Jaguars very sneakily have a chance to, maybe get in there at that 2 or 3 seed. They keep winning football games. It's the Jekyll high to Trevor Lawrence is kind of the only thing holding back from me saying, hey, this is a team that could maybe compete in January. But, credit to what the Jaguars are doing. They're showing you that coaching matters. And very easy, very dominant win on Sunday over a division opponent.
Here's where the Jacksonville Jaguars are for the rest of the season. They're at home against the Colts, at home against the Jets. They go to Denver. They play at Indianapolis, and then they finish with the Titans at home. Joey, that's a doable schedule. Even if you, 2-3 in the last, that's 10 wins. Should be good enough for you, I'm hoping, if you're a Jaguar fan. If you get 11 wins, right, you might be talking about a bye. But the up again, down again, like I said earlier, Jacksonville's just finding ways to win.
Yeah, I think everybody on that schedule is going to fight. So none of the games will be easy. Maybe the Titans game, the last game of the season, will be an easier game because they would have already packed it in, I'm sure. But just to talk about the Titans a little bit, they, I think all the lumps that the quarterback is going through this year, and again, he hadn't played bad. He really hadn't. All the lumps that he's going through will make him a better player next year. If they can upgrade the talent in free agency and via the draft, because they are, like we have said all season long, they are void of talent. I mean, their leading rusher had 60 yards, but their leading receiver had 29 yards. That kind of tells you where they are as a explosive football team. They really don't have any explosion. They don't have any big-time playmakers, somebody who can take a screen pass and go 70 yards. They don't have a running back that can do that. They don't have a tight end that can do that. They don't have a receiver that can do that. So they're void of talent right now. So hopefully they're already preparing for free agency.
Yeah. Well, final there. Obviously, a little bit of a blowout, 25-3, and Jacksonville's 8-4. Titans fall to 1-11. Next game we're going to look at Titans. Texas is 7-5 right now, guys. They win 20-16. The Colts were 7-1 at one point. Now they are 8-4. They've lost 3 of the last 4. They play Jacksonville twice. They play the Seahawks in Seattle. They've got San Francisco at home, and then they finish the season at Texas. They just lost to them. After looking at them just running away with the division, I'm going to back up and pump the brakes a little bit. Joey, I'll start with you. Colts are struggling right now. Again, losers of 3 of the last 4.
I'll say this, and when they were winning early in the year, there was a point in time in the season I said, well, you know what, I'm a save my enthusiasm, because I looked at who they played, and they really didn't have a killer schedule where they were winning these games. And Jonathan Taylor was, putting up racetrack numbers. And now they may not win again.
Yeah.
If you look at the schedule, they may not win again. They may finish the season
8-9.
8-9. That's not being hyperbolic. Those are the facts. They could very well finish 8-9. I hope they don't, because that's a bad way to end the season, especially when you started so hot. But they played the Texans back in Houston, and some of those other games you mentioned. It's not out of the hey, they very well could be the underdog in every game they go into from this point on. Yeah.
Their offensive line, which was so dominant there early and often throughout the 7-1 portion of the schedule, has seen Jonathan Taylor's numbers. He had 85 yards. That's not a bad day at the office, but no. What do you have, 230 against the Falcons just a couple of weeks ago? They're really playing like they're tired, I guess. Maybe that's it. I'm not saying they're fatigued or anything like that, but they can't win late and come back. This was a close game.
And to be fair, Daniel Jones is hurt. He's got a fracture in his leg, and he's playing, and everybody knows. So he's never going to be the most mobile guy now, because that was actually one of the things that gave him an advantage when he was playing, because he did have some mobility. He could take off and run. Excuse me. And you know that with the injury, he's not going to be quick to do that. So now you can game plan around that, kind of force him to one side instead of keeping him in the pocket. Unless you can get pressure up the middle, you force him to the side and you make him run. You make him. You test out that leg. You make him run. Put pressure on him and see what his pain tolerance is.
You get Lawrence Taylor on the outside of Reggie White. He'll have the fear of God in him a little bit. C.J. Stroud, 276 yards, no touchdowns, an interception. But guess what, Brian? The rest of the team is kind of really rallying. They've gone from the depths of despair to where they're just a game out of this thing with 5 to play. The Texans are playing well.
This defense is legit. You can ask Josh Allen and Daniel Jones over the last 2 weeks. It's a nightmare blocking them up front. Will Anderson has been wreaking havoc. Derek Stingley, you can't even look in his direction. If Derek Stingley is lined up across from you on offense, if you're a receiver, you might as well take the play off. Take a little breather. Maybe get some water, because he's been otherworldly as far as just not allowing anybody to catch the ball anywhere in his vicinity. And this Texans defense, they built around the front four. They traded up in the draft. They sacrificed a lot to say, we're going to go get our guys up front and we're going to wreak havoc on the defensive end. And it's working. A couple years ago, CJ Stroud, his rookie season, he was a phenom. He kind of fell off a little bit. This year, he hasn't really been healthy, but didn't play a bad game. This is a very good Colts defense as well. They're good on the other side. Let's give them some credit too. But yeah, it's a divisional game, two very good defenses. Texans are right there in the conversation for the division again, which is crazy to think. A month ago, I would not have thought that, especially with their schedule. They're winning some tough games. Colts are still a decent football team. The Bills, very good football team, and they manhandled them up front. But AFC South is going to get very interesting between the Jaguars and the Colts and the Texans. I don't know if I trust any of these teams, and I wouldn't be surprised if any of these teams either lose the rest of their games or end up winning the division. It's a lot going on.
I would ask you, who's got the best defense in the division?
I'd tell you the Texans. I think Houston, and I think they might have they're a game back, but it's just they are so good. They sacked Josh Allen 8 times. I mean, it's ridiculous. They not as many sacks this week, but I think, Joey, to your credit, I think you said with Daniel Jones's injury, the idea was we're gonna get the ball out quickly, right? We're not gonna let that happen to our quarterback because Josh Allen got banged up. We're gonna try to run the ball, but Houston did everything in their power to take Jonathan Taylor out of it, and it worked. They gave 16 points to a Colts team that before the last 2 weeks, I think they were averaging almost 30 points a game.
Yep.
I think Pittsburgh gave. I think Pittsburgh gave a lot of teams the blueprint to beating the Colts.
There you go.
Stop the run.
Yeah.
And you try to make the quarterback beat you, and especially now that he's injured, that's going to be tough for them to do.
Yep.
Well, 7-5, 8-4. There's just one game difference between these two, and they will play again at the end of the year. A lot of great football in between there. And CJ Stroud, like I said, no touchdowns. He was sacked twice. He had an interception, but didn't matter. It was still good enough for them to win. 2016 is the final there. Next game, let's look at the Saints, 2-10 against the. At one point in this year, Joey, the Dolphins were 1-6, and they were a hot, steamy nuclear mess of a football team. They've won 4 of the last 5, excuse me. And I'm not saying they're out of the hole, but they don't have as much dirt on them as they used to be having in the first 2 months of the season. Congratulations. They've beaten the Bills, the Commanders, and the Saints back to back to back. They've got the Jets next week. They go up to New York, but congratulations. They're now they are 5-7. They've kind of pulled some things out. And it's still a long struggle, but the Dolphins are playing much better.
Yes, they are playing much better. And I'll start by giving them credit. I still think you're still putting lipstick on a pig, but that's a whole nother story. But to their credit, they are finding ways to win games despite who the opponents are. The game with the Jets would be interesting because that's a big-time rival in the division. So that'll be an interesting game. With the records not too dissimilar. But the thing I would say is Miami is another team that's really they have to depend on the run. Okay. Yeah. And A-Chan had a pretty big game versus the Saints. And the Saints really they're playing out the stretch. I'm not sure the Saints at this point in the season, with the exception of the Titans, aren't the if you're ranking the teams, they would have to be 31 out of 32. Yeah, you know what I mean. So I think they're really down, and this ended up being a 4-point game. So Miami did what they needed to do to win. Again, we're talking about another team that's limited. They traded away players. They have players injured. But the quarterback did just enough to get them over the hump, and again, they were able to run the ball against the Saints.
Brian, your thoughts here. Saints, Dolphins, 21-17 is the final. Saints fall to 2-10.
Two bad football teams. The Dolphins were just better at running the ball and playing defense. That's the staple of, hey, we're trying to win a game where both teams are kind of bad. It's whoever does those two things better, and penalties and turnovers, obviously. But not seeing a lot of stuff from Tua Tagovailoa that's making that contract. If I'm a Dolphins fan, making me feel very good. Not a lot of yards. He's put up like Bryce Young numbers for the first 2 months of the season. That's what I'm seeing from him. Not a lot of yards, not a lot of touchdowns. Achane is phenomenal. He's a phenomenal running back. Doesn't get as much credit because he's on a bad football team, but dude's legit. No Tyreek Hill. Dolphins still find a way to win games and be competitive. Credit to them. But like Joey says, it's a bad New Orleans team, and it's a game that they should have won, and they did.
Boy, another team that they start out 2-0, and what have they lost? 9 of their last 10. We're talking about the Cardinals now. Arizona is 3-9. They play against Tampa, and Tampa's injured. They're beat up. They've got a lot of issues going on, but they're still finding a way to win. Jacoby Brissett throws for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception. He was sacked 2 times. Both teams rushed for 95 yards, but in their losses, they lose to the 49ers by 1. They lose to the Seahawks by 3. They lose to the Titans by 1. They lose by 4 to the Colts. They lose by 4 to the Packers. They got kind of blown away at Seattle, and then they lose again to the Niners, but only 3 in the last 2 games, 27-24 against the Jaguars and 2017 in this week's game against the Buccaneers. I don't feel sorry for Arizona, but they've been so close this year. They could easily have 4, 5, 6 wins, but they haven't learned how to finish. Joey,
Well, I think that's it. They haven't learned how to finish, and I don't know if they will from the standpoint of Jacoby's going to get a lot of incentive money at the end of the year, but they're going to be a 3 or 4 win team, so it won't really matter. It'll matter for the personal goal, but from a team standpoint, nobody's going to care that you've lost these close games, because guess what? You found a way to lose all of them. The good teams and the average teams find a way to win the close game, because ultimately there's a lot of parity in the National Football League. And we've seen that more this year than we did last year with the teams that are winning and how their records have changed. So you're going to be in games. Most teams are going to be in the games down to the end. And then the talent and the coaching takes over is why you win the close games. Or unless you Kansas City and you have injuries, all those close games they won in last year, they're losing this year. Okay. Yeah. And that's not necessarily a talent issue. That's not even a coaching issue. I mean, because you really can't blame Andy Reid on that. That's an attrition issue, I believe. But Arizona, on the other hand, I mean, they just can't find a way to win a close game.
Yeah, Brian, I know you had some comments there.
No, I like what Joey said with Jacoby Brissett and his incentives. Joey, is this Jacoby Brissett's team? Even if Kyler Murray's healthy, I mean, the numbers are good. He's got him in every single game. If you're Marvin Harrison Jr. or Trey McBride, I don't think you want Kyler Murray to come back under center, right? I mean, even if he's good to go, because it's just this offense looks so much more fluid. They're throwing the ball down the field. They're losing to good teams, but they're in every single game. And credit to Brissett, because they just threw him into the fire, right? Hey, go figure this thing out. He's playing loose. He's playing carefree. He's a career backup, but I think he's in a position where he's accustomed to this, right? And the role fits him well, and he's embraced it. He's going to do whatever he has to help the team win. But at the very least, he's playing himself into a job next year. And then if you're the Bucs, I think Bucky Irving's back. He's finally healthy. They acclimated him to the offense. It looked a lot better than it did the week before against the Rams. My goodness. But I think they're still trying to get healthy. They may get Mike Evans back before the end of the season. Chris Godwin looked decently healthy on Sunday, but Baker's banged up. Dad, like you said, it's just one of those things. Anytime you can get a win in the NFL, it's a big deal. And the Bucs needed this one to keep pace NFC South and stay ahead of the Panthers. Yeah,
that injury that he had last week, he's a one-arm quarterback, so to speak. The good arm work, but they're 7-5. They keep finding ways to win, and that's what the Arizona Cardinals have just struggled all year with, finding ways to win. Next game we're going to look at Rams at 9-2 go into Carolina. This on paper looks like, this could be a blowout. Guess what? Panthers didn't read the paper. They didn't take notice. 31-28 is the final. Carolina is a half game out. They are 7-6. We just mentioned Tampa. They're 7-5. So a half game difference between these two. The Panthers still have a bye coming up here shortly, but I was impressed. Brian, I'm going to start with you. Before we went on the air, you were talking a little bit about Matthew Stafford, and just Rams just didn't have it this week.
Yeah, he looked kind of lost. Now, obviously, it's the whole West Coast team to go and play on the East Coast. It's an early start for them, right? That's tough, but they looked asleep the first quarter and a half. I mean, Matthew Stafford had 2 big interceptions that led to Panthers points that really were the difference in this game. But we've been ragging on Bryce Young a lot this year, for the exception of him playing the Falcons, but he looked very, very good against a very good Rams defense. He was sprinkling the ball all over the field, didn't make any mistakes, played relatively clean, threw the ball away when he needed to. This Panthers defense is a lot better than I think people are talking about, and a lot better than people have been giving them credit for. They have them in almost every game, and I mean, they kind of put it all together on Sunday. This is a game that I didn't think it'd be relatively close, and credit the Panthers. They won a very tough game against a very good team. I was ready to anoint the Rams as the best team in the NFC and just go ahead and put them in the Super Bowl after last week, but maybe it's a good loss for the Rams, a down to earth moment before the playoffs. Kind of an ego check, but. Panthers are in the thick of it. After watching the tape on Sunday, I don't think there's a whole lot of teams in the NFC that would love to see these guys in January.
Yeah, that's a pretty. Is this a trophy win for the Panthers right now, where they can just in their own locker room just go, you know what, we had the best team in the conference, and we beat them in our building. Is that something that they can take with them and kind of ride for the rest of the season, Joey?
Well, I don't know about that. I think they're still a young team, so they don't know they aren't supposed to be really good or they're supposed to be really bad. Dave Canales is just putting the pedal to the metal and just driving these guys. And hey, as bad as they looked 4 days ago in San Francisco, they look that much better 4 days later, or was it 4 days or 7 days later in at home versus the Rams?
Yeah.
So give them credit. And there's a sweet spot there for Bryce Young. I mean, if he throws the ball 20, 22 times, I think that's a sweet spot. But to be able to do that, you got to be able to run the ball. And they got production out of the running game this week, which they didn't get when they were on the West Coast playing San Francisco. Yeah. So with Hubbard and he was the bell cow this week, and Bryce was able to throw the ball around, and the receivers were catching the ball. So and hey, they got another big time interception or two. The Panthers are a pretty good football team. They're just young, so they play up and down. Up and down. So you just don't know what you're going to get from week to week. But guess what? They have 7 wins, and the last 2 seasons combined, I think they had 7 wins. So good for them.
Yeah, and they were trailing at the half. They scored 2 touchdowns in the second half. Rams only got 1, and that was enough to help win that game. And it ties them, pulls the Rams back down at 9-3, equal to the Seahawks, who had a home win, 26-0, the final there. The Vikings, did they just not get off the bus? What were they thinking? Were they tired? Were they saying, man, there are a lot of West Coast teams that get tired. We're going to say we're tired too. I mean, they're just big nothing right there offensively. Joey, I'll start with you. Let's give credit where it's due. Seattle, we've talked about how good their defense is. Sam Darnold played well enough. Not great stats, but guess what? 26-0 is a very impressive win. Even though the game may have been closer, Vikings just didn't have anything. They fall to 4-6, and again, the Seahawks 9-3.
This was a complete defensive game on both sides of the ball. Bromsmer, is that who was the quarterback for the Vikings this week? With the 4 interceptions, he looked out of sorts all game long. He made some crucial errors, and really, this is an indictment. I hate to pile on, but this might be an indictment on where they are with the quarterback position, because you have your old quarterback come back in town and come back and shut you out, despite not having to throw for 130 yards, and your new quarterback who is on the sideline, who hadn't played well all year, and then the backup to the backup is in now playing, and he's takeout because he's giving everybody orders throwing the ball. So it was just a bad look for the Vikings, and not just the players from an organizational standpoint. It was a bad look as well. Yeah,
not easy to bounce back from this one, let alone, right? You don't have a whole lot you can draw from when you go to Seattle. You face the 12th man, you've got the flag thing going on there, and you just don't show up. I mean, you get off the bus, but just that's an embarrassing loss, Brian. That's one where you want to burn the tape.
Yeah, I feel bad kind of for Max Brosmer because this offense has been stumbling all season. They're saying, hey, Your first start's gonna be at Seattle. We're reeling right now. Go play the Seahawks, and it's just Justin Jefferson had 2 catches for 4 yards. That's all you really need to know about this game. Brosmer had as many interceptions as Justin Jefferson had yards on Sunday. It was an ugly performance. Now, to be fair, this Seahawks defense is legit. They're very, very good. I put them right up there behind the Texans. They're a phenomenal unit. They have been all year. You can go back watch the game against the Rams a couple weeks ago. The only reason why they were in this game, or in that game, excuse me, is because the defense was superb. An interesting scenario I thought of, Joey. This Vikings offense is very, very good. They may not be sold on McCarthy. They may not want to get rid of him, but is there any chance Aaron Rodgers maybe completes the full Brett Favre cycle and ends up in Minnesota next year? Maybe Kevin O'Connell talks him in and says, hey, we got a good group of receivers. We got a good defense. We're playing indoors. Any chance maybe they go out, they take a swing at a guy like Aaron Rodgers in the offseason?
If I'm Aaron Rodgers, the only way I would even consider that is they upgrade that offensive line, because that offensive line was a problem last year. And nobody, when Sam Darnold was in the playoffs, the last game and the playoff game, when everybody was piling on Sam Darnold, they should have been piling on offensive line too, because offensive line was 100% was really problematic. And now it's really reared its head during this season. So, any quarterback that comes in there, and if you think JJ needs another year of tutelage and you can get Aaron, then I would say, if I'm Aaron, I'm like, only if we're upgrading the offensive line.
Yeah. But that's just
because I'm an old man. I can't move around, and I can't continue to get beat up.
Yeah. I need two Pro Bowl guards and at least one Pro Bowl tackle and
Pro Bowl left tackle. Yeah, go make
and
some
about $45 million, and then we'll talk. Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, let's go to Aaron Rodgers. Rough time there for the Steelers. They fall to 6-6, a chance to really create a little bit of a separation with the Baltimore Ravens. He throws for 117 yards, 10 completions on 21, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked once. Mason Rudolph comes in. He's 0 for 3. They rush for 58 yards. Goodness gracious, guys. The Steelers of old would be pulling their hair out going, what where the ghosts of Franco Harris and Jerome Bettis would not have that. Meanwhile, Buffalo rushes for 249 yards. They only had 1 touchdown on the ground, 1 in the air, 1 interception from Josh Allen. But are they back? Well, I know I was going, well, I don't even think the Bills make the playoffs. They sure turned things around. 26-7 is the final. Bills are 8-4, and the Steelers fall to 6-6. Joey, I'll start with you, your former team, the Steelers.
Well, this is what I'll say. I would say that offensively, the Steelers are a bad football team. And to be fair, it was a windy day. It was windy for Buffalo. That's why Buffalo didn't throw for a lot of yards either. I mean, it was going to be a run game. It was going to be a ground and pound game. And the Steelers' defense was god-awful. Yeah. In almost every area, they struggled. Buffalo came in with 2 of their starting offensive tackles, their starting left tackle and starting right tackle out, and they still ran for a record number of yards in Pittsburgh. So that tells you where they are. And offensively, the Steelers struggled, just throwing the ball because it was windy. When Rodgers went out for the injury, Rudolph came in, he threw an interception. Then Aaron came back, nose blooded. But the key is they can't run the football. They aren't a power running team consistently. They couldn't run the ball. And defensively, Buffalo has some people out too. So I'm not ready to say Buffalo is back yet. This was an impressive win for Buffalo, especially what they were able to do on the ground. Like I said, if you were in Western PA or Eastern PA, you had a license to run all over everybody at any time, because both teams that played in Pittsburgh, the visiting teams in Pennsylvania, had record rushing days.
Yeah, it was a bad day in Pennsylvania. Like I said, Penn State, Pitt, Youngstown State, who knows how they did. Everybody struggled a little bit, at least at the professional level. Brian, your thoughts here on the Bills? I'm not putting them back on a pedestal, but at least they're closer to it. That was a big win for them, one they really had to have. If they lose this one, the wheels are starting to fall off.
Yeah, this is kind of the offense we expect from them, though, right? They're going to run the ball heavily, even with the quarterback, right? Josh Allen's going to get involved with his legs. I don't need a ton of production through the air, right? We're good enough on defense. We got a very strong offensive line. let's play off of the run game, right? James Cook, who we talk about him all the time on the show, great running back, very underutilized, very underrated guy, had a phenomenal game, really carried the offense, carried the load, really wore out the Pittsburgh front seven. And you could see at the end of the game, Watt was banged up. A lot of guys were banged up, and they kind of tapping. It's kind of over with. But flip side, if you're the Steelers, you can't score 7 points at home and really beat anybody. You can't. You can't expect to do it unless you're the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. You can't expect to score 7 points and win a game in the NFL. I know Rodgers is banged up, but the run game really wasn't there. The receivers, I mean, no one was really even open anyways. They got after Rodgers all day. It was just a kind of nightmare scenario for the Steelers all the way around.
And the sad part is, especially late in the game, you knew what Buffalo was going to do. You knew they were going to run the ball. You knew where they were going to run the ball.
Couldn't stop them.
And you couldn't stop them.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, simple as that. And Steelers fall 6-6. Baltimore 6-6. Cincinnati is 4-8 in that AFC North. So it's nail-biting time for those teams and the remaining 5 games that they have on the schedule. No one's biting any nails in Las Vegas. Joey, I'll start with you. Your Raiders, you've been there before. Chargers really kind of bounced back. They've had some injuries. They've had, especially on the offensive line. It wasn't a great game offensively for them, but 31 points versus giving up 14. It was sure enough 8-4. They're 5-2 at home, and really it wasn't a must win, but an important win against a team that they had to beat.
Right. The Chargers did what they had to do. Now, the quarterback was injured. He had surgery on his finger today.
Yep.
And it's non-throwing hand, so I think he'll be able to play next week. But, the Chargers really, they don't have much room for error from a playoff standpoint of what they need to do. Now, the Raiders, they're done. Brock Bowers is, again, I'm going to say that catch he made for a touchdown was as good a catch as you're going to see, because it was low and outside, and he caught it with his left hand. It was amazing.
Seamlessly. Yeah.
But the Raiders need help. They have one true defensive lineman, Max Crosby. They don't have anybody else that's really affecting the passer at a high rate. They don't have any speed outside at receiver. They don't have any playmakers. They don't get a ton out of the run game because they can't displace people on the line of scrimmage as a run blocking team. So, and Geno is Geno is what Jameis Winston used to be, and what I mean by that is, the many lives of Geno Smith. I mean, you get the Jameis Winston experience. Sometimes he'll throw for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, but he also have 5 interceptions. But with Geno right now, you're not getting the touchdown production. It's more of the interception production than the touchdown production, unless he's throwing the ball to that all-world tight end that they have. But it wasn't pleasing aesthetically on the eyes watching this game. So if I'm just being honest, good win for the Chargers. That was a game they were supposed to win.
Brian, your thoughts here? Chargers go to the traditional navy blue. They're not in the baby blues, but they get enough. I don't know. They got to do something different. Everybody has the retro uniforms and stuff that you throw back to. Raiders will never go with anything other than silver and black. But an impressive win in a conference there that there's only 2 other teams that have 8 wins. So really this puts the Chargers kind of in the driver's seat, at least for now, in terms of the playoffs and being a part of the wild card.
Yeah, they're right there. It's going to be tough because, they got divisional games coming up. The Chiefs are going to be fighting for their lives. The Broncos are a very, very good football team. It's going to be one of those things where it's going to come down the wire. This is a game you have to win, right? You got to beat the bad teams. You got to beat up on the Raiders, unfortunately for them, if you want to keep going. But Herbert's surgery, the injury is a bit of a concern, especially if he misses any time. That's going to be a big deal. We'll, kind of wait and see. I don't think Harbaugh really disclosed whether or not that's the case, because I believe the injury was on his non-throwing hand. So that's, always a good sign, right? Not on the strong hand, but we'll see. Chargers is a good football team. They haven't been healthy all year. Their offensive line is in shambles, and they're kind of piecing it together. They're 8-4. They're still competing, so give them a lot of credit. Yeah.
Chargers trying to keep pace with the Broncos, and the Broncos probably in the game of the week, right? This is an overtime game that ends up being much more exciting than maybe people thought. Joey, I'll start with you. Marcus Mariota throws for 294. He's got 2 touchdowns and an interception for the Commanders. They fall to 3-9. They rush for 143 yards, do they, in Washington. Bo Nix throws for 321. He has 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked once, but Broncos couldn't run. But goodness gracious, I'm not calling them the cardiac kids, but they find a way to win, and they've done so all season long. Is the luck going to run out before they realize that, well, this was just luck? Or are they just a good enough team to go, you know what? Even if we're down by 6 or if we're tied, it doesn't matter. If we've got the ball, we got a chance to win the ball game.
You know, they're doing the same thing that Kansas City did last year. All those close games, they're finding a way to win those close games. So I think those guys are growing up. And Bo Nix, I mean, he threw that touchdown falling down that was he gave you visions of something that Patrick Mahomes have done in the past. But the Broncos, they just keep finding ways to win. They are a tough-minded football team, and I have to give Sean Payton credit for that, because you couldn't always say that before Sean Payton got there. But Denver is a tough-minded football team, because going into Washington to the Commanders and winning this football game was big, and Marcus Mariota really played a really good game.
Yeah.
Okay. They did some good things on offense, the Commanders, and they actually didn't play too bad on defense. The Broncos were just a better team. They were dealing with less injuries than what Washington was dealing with, and they found a way to win the game when they needed to, and to make big plays when they needed to. But you know, the Broncos, they aren't easy for people that have heart conditions. That's for sure.
Yeah, you may need to take your medication before the game, and maybe able to turn the TV off if it gets too exciting for you. Very interesting perspective there. I like that. But Bo Nix, Brian, you know, this is in his 12th year in the league. He's a seasoned veteran. He's just making plays, and he's going down the field. And he's matriculating and doing all the things. Oh, that's right. This is only his 2nd year. They're 15th in passing, 14th in rushing. They're 13th in scoring, but they're 4th in defense. So let's give a little credit where it's due. Offense is keeping them in some games and scoring some points, but really the defense is where they're cutting their teeth, and they're really playing well.
Well, I think that was kind of the mantra, right? Sean Payton's whole thing is like, hey, we're going to play defense well. We have a good defense. Let's not lose the game on offense. And there's a lot of close games, but the Broncos always are seemingly in control of the game, if that makes sense. They're ahead. They're playing well. With the exception of the Giants game, you know, they've really been playing from ahead and kind of maintaining the lead the entire season. Bo Nix has done what he needs to win the game late. That's a good quality to have in your quarterback. You love a guy who can go out and make plays and just find a way to pull one out of a hat every once in a while. Not a lot of blowouts in Denver. Every game's particularly close. You can say they're playing down to competition, but they're also playing up against the competition, right? They're beating some good teams, a lot of close games. They're figuring out how to win week in and week out, and they're right there in the conversation for the 1 seed in the AFC, right there with the Patriots. Another surprise. Yeah. Commanders don't have a lot going on right now. Obviously, got a bunch of injuries, but I like the call going for 2 at home. You got 3 wins on the season. You know what? It's primetime football. Let's try to win the game right then and there. Great play by the defense to make a stop.
Yeah,
right,
the guy was open. You're right.
Yeah, great play. It's unfortunate someone had to lose this game because Commanders, they gave it everything they had. They were fighting for Dan Quinn. You like that when a coach can kind of get the best out of his team. Even when they only have 3 or 4 wins and they're out of it, they can still go out there on Sunday and you know, they'll give you everything they got. And kudos to the Commanders. It's just I think the Broncos better football team.
Well, we're going to find out. Last game that we're going to look at is the Giants and Patriots. Both teams get a bye next week, 49ers and Panthers, and then that will be the conclusion of the byes for all the teams. All 32 teams will have had that 1 week off, but that's next week. Obviously, everybody plays here on Thanksgiving weekend. The final here in this one on Monday Night Football is 33-15. Brian, you told me after the first quarter, hey, we may go on a little bit early tonight. 17-0. It was 30-7 at the half. Patriots in complete control. Joey, I'm going to start with you. They're the only team in the league right now with 11 wins. They're very impressive right now. They're doing things the right way. They may not dominate in the scoring or dominate with the rushing yards, but they're winning at the highest level and getting just enough of an edge to where I'm noticing, and I don't see any flaws in this team other than their youth and their lack of experience that would stop them from continuing and being the number 1 seed in 5 weeks.
They are a well-rounded football team. They are doing it in all three phases. Their offense is playing well, efficient. Drake May is playing at a high level. They're able to run the ball. They were without two offensive linemen today, and it didn't slow them down much of all tonight.
Right.
Defensively, they're still able to get after the passer when they need to. They have, Christian Gonzalez at corner is great, and then the kid they got from Tampa last year. Free agency, he's playing well for them, so they're still able to do some really good things on defense. And then, the kid returned a punt for a touchdown again today, his second of the year. So again, they're a tough-minded football team, and that linebacker, I can't think of his name, he put 2 hits on today, one on the quarterback on the sideline and one on the tight end coming across the middle. And they were both legitimate shots. Gives you that, it tells you the kind of mentality and the physicality that the Patriots are playing with, and the attitude that they've taken from their head football coach, Coach Vrabel. So I was really impressed with this team. And again, they're a young football team who don't know they're not supposed to be good yet. So they're playing with house money right now. And that's what it looks like. They're playing really well.
Yeah, very impressed. Drake May had 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 3 times, so relatively clean slate here. Travion Henderson, 67 yards. Stevenson had 40. They had 119 yards on the ground. Hunter Henry had 4 receptions for 73 yards. Keyshawn Butte had 35 yards. Williams had 33. Douglas had 30. Everybody's getting a chance to participate. They had 7 different receivers with 2, 3, 4 receptions. I know from a practice perspective, Joey, if I know I'm going to touch the ball a couple of times, I'm going to practice a lot more differently, whether I'm in college or in the pros. Is that something that you notice as well when you have a lot of guys being involved? Mac Hollins had 3 catches for 23 yards, and you get full participation. Before we go to Brian, just give me your perspective on that. When you know you're going to play, I think you practice differently than when you know you're a guy that's on the bench. Yes, you have to be ready and prepared, but you are when you get a chance to participate.
Right. When the 52nd man on the team thinks he's going to play, then he's going to practice harder.
Yes,
Everybody's that's just human nature. So they're getting production in practice, and it's carrying over to the game. And I heard one other quick thing. I heard one of the commentators say they spoke with one of the players, the free agent. I think it was the kid from Tampa Bay that they got the corner, and he was saying that this team, they're locked in with each other. They want to win for each other, but they also want to win for Coach Vrabel. So the fact that a player would actually come out and say, not only are we playing I'm playing for my brother beside me, I'm also playing for my head coach. That tells you the impact the head coach has made on the team.
Yeah. And I think there was a degree of separation with Belichick. He was so unapproachable from the media perspective, but the players knew how much he cared and how he would test them and walk down the hallway and go, hey, who's the guy that you're going against? Tell me one of the characteristics that he has, to just keep your mind sharp. And Vrabel has some of that, I would believe, but also he's got to be Mike Vrabel and be different and unique and be the best him that he can be. So he also has a different perspective, and having a lot of diamonds to shake hands with guys all the time, that certainly it creates a little bit of an allure as well. Brian, your thoughts here? Jackson Dart, 139 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception, but really they were outmanned and outclassed here today. The Giants were by the Patriots.
Yeah, this is a very good Patriots team, top to bottom. They've built this team very, very well. A lot of talent. I think if you're the Giants, you kind of see the blueprint of what you want, right? Because the Giants are in the same boat. They got a young quarterback. They got a pretty good defense. I think you got to get the right coach. I think that the big difference is I think that the Patriots are a much more disciplined football team. I think Vrabel's a huge part of that. And I think the Giants are kind of polar opposite right now. The coaching situation's a mess. You don't know who the guy's going to be next year, but the blueprint's right there for the Giants. You can figure it out, right? You got the talent. You got a young quarterback. Now you got to get everybody back healthy next year. But it's one of those things where they can figure it out. If you're the Patriots, the only concern tonight was they settled for a lot of field goals. They drove the ball down the field and they couldn't really finish in the red zone a lot. But other than that, it was just a complete domination. I think they had 17 points on the first 16 plays from scrimmage or something crazy like that. Patriots team's very, very good. This looked like a 2-10 team going up against a 10-2 team, right? That's what it looked like. It was to be expected. So kudos to the Patriots. They're in the driver's seat in the AFC right now, which, what is it, 2008 again, right? We're going back in time if you're the Patriots. But it's a good win. Obviously, it's prime time. But, man, a lot of credit to Vrabel and a lot of credit to the staff. I would be surprised at this point if he's not coach of the year. He's got to be runner-up or something right now, because it's just what he's done and this team's turnaround is just it's night and day.
Yeah, absolutely amazing, and congratulations to them. Let's take a real quick look at the playoff standings before we go. Let's just go with wins right now. New England with 11 in the AFC. They are obviously number one. The Broncos have 10, Jacksonville with 8, and Baltimore with 6. Those are your division leaders right now, with tiebreakers included. 8 wins for the Chargers, the Colts, and the Bills. 7 wins. Keep your eye on Houston. They're not that far behind. 6 wins each for Pittsburgh and for Kansas City. Everybody else has fewer than that. In the NFC, Chicago Bears with 9 wins, and the Rams are identical. They are division winners right now, where it stands. Philadelphia with 8 wins and Tampa with 7. They would automatically qualify for the playoffs. The wild cards would be Seattle with 9 wins. San Francisco has 9 wins. Green Bay has 8-3-1, but they have a tiebreaker over San Francisco that puts them a little bit higher. Detroit has 7. Dallas has 6. Carolina also has 7. So it's an interesting perspective how that works. Any surprises from you, Joey, before we head out?
Oh, ton of surprises. Obviously, you start with the Panthers. They're surprised. You start with the Bears for sure. I mean, the Bears, if it ended today, the Bears is the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody thought that was possible. For
Nope.
sure.
Even Illinoisans, folks from Chicago would go, what? You really? It happened? Oh, of course I thought it would happen. Yeah, but you'd have to go to the CBO, the Chicago Board of Exchange, to get odds on that. I don't know what they would be either. Brian, any thoughts from you before we head out?
I think at this point, the only team we thought would be in first place, their division, the AFC, is the Ravens. And even that's a surprise, right? Because they were dead in the water a month ago. So a lot of young talent, a lot of good teams. The playoffs are going to be interesting because you're not going to have, the way it stands right now, if we kind of play this thing out the way it is, there's not a lot of experience in the playoffs going forward, at least on the AFC side. So it's going to be a lot of fresh faces, a lot of guys getting their feet wet, a lot of young coaches who are figuring it out. And then, on the NFC, the usual suspects, right? Like the Eagles are struggling. The Rams are still very, very good. They had an off week, but someone like the Panthers, the Bears, you mentioned them. They're great. I'm thinking maybe we get at least 2 teams to the NFC North. But, honestly, just the division leaders at this point and the leaders in the clubhouse, it's been a very interesting NFL season, been very entertaining. And, week 13 is in the books. We only got a couple more left.
Well, my surprise is that the state of Pennsylvania had 2 big losers this weekend. Hopefully they'll get everything turned around. I know Joey was talking about that earlier, and we hope the Penn State Pitt and Youngstown all get some wins, and maybe Temple in one way, shape, or form to help even the waters out there for Pennsylvania. But we appreciate you being a part of the show. For Joey Clinkscales, for Brian LeBel, I'm Harper LeBel saying thank you for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate you being a part of 100 Yards of Football, and this has been the NFL Wrap-Up Show for Thanksgiving week. We hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We certainly appreciate and are thankful for you tuning in. We are grateful for it all, and we hope that you have a fantastic rest of your week. Thanks for watching 100 Yards of Football in Week 13 of the NFL Wrap-Up Show.